All right. Thank you all for joining. This is a great opportunity to meet with a couple of agile mindset people who loves to learn the journey regardless of agile knowledge. So this session, we will completely cover on ways to work, ways of working using agile methodology. And to introduce myself, this is Fakrudeen Ahamed. Today's agenda will be I will introduce myself and then how business and IT says regarding what is agile, how the business initiatives are discussed in the portfolio level, and risk and dependencies that come across during the phase of multiple business initiatives under the SAFE umbrella. How does the iteration fit into this? And under the SAFE umbrella, how does the role and responsibilities place in the agile transformation? So introduce myself. So pretty much I have been in the IT industry for 23 years and very solid agile mindset guy almost for 17 years. I have practiced a number of portfolio level digital transformation and streamlined, prioritized value streams from operational and development value streams, collaborated with multiple data and matrix level of dashboards, and highly trained multiple set of Scrum Masters, product owners, and DevOps side, team side, lean portfolio management, and all and above. So I'm a Core Safe SPC and an Agile coach. All right, so it's an interesting topic to think about it whenever we talk around agile methodology and SAFE framework, right? There's a two difference between agile methodology, which is methodology by itself, and then we do have frameworks that on agile methodology. It can be Scrum framework, it can be SAFE framework, which under the scaled agile. And we are more focused on the SAFE, which is a scaled agile. There are Kanban, there are other frameworks. But when it comes to working, the ways of working, always there is a pain point between the solutions and the problem. This raises out against to the business say and IT say. Just want to highlight few of the bulletins that helps you to understand what is the important and why are these items are raised in day-to-day activity between business and IT. It required a different way of working to deliver a technology project both on the business and IT side. So it is great to think, what does business say and what does IT says? So business always try to say that we do our excellent work in the market as per the demand, and they say we partner with the IT innovations together. We do not get estimate to prioritize the epic. They always has a challenge mentioning that we have enough information as a business initiatives and epic, but we're not getting estimate. How do I prioritize it? We provide the time to stay highly involved, but there are too many meetings. When it comes to agile methodology, there is one kind of activity that is spread around the market is too many meetings, and that could only happen if the delivery team, which can be a scrum master or a release train engineer, are not time focused. So there's so many complaints from the product. We work in the market, we are busy with the market need, we are preparing so many business needs, and I don't have time to sit with this technology and go through all the ceremonies. So there are too many meetings on it. And they do also say that we trust IT within the technology health and new functionality, but not unable to commit within the time frame. They would say that there are more technical challenges over there. They will challenge themselves that business is able to provide business required stories or epics or features or themes, but there are technology problems that they are not able to identify, the designs that they are not able to bring out, architectural directions. So the next one, they would pretty much, these are some bulletins, I just pull it out from my experience. We understand the capacity of the team is limited due to the cross-functional, but no proper blueprint to guide them. When a team is formed in a Scrum framework, there's a good to look is they would have a full stack engineers. If the team doesn't have a full stack engineers, then the team is formed with cross-functional. There could be people who are UX specialized. There are people who are service-based. There are people who more focus towards their database. So when the combination of multiple skill sets, including QA, quality analysis, and automation team, DevOps team, everything combined together, the team forms to be having its sprint goal, but not knowing a clear idea of the sprint goal with the blueprint of the technical ask or technical directions towards the business ask. That's where the business is a little upset, that says that, oh, we are not able to get the full outcome in the sprint goal. Unknown and dependency traceabilities are not identified in the early stage. So this is always the business approach that say, hey, what can I do to support you guys? We are not able to identify which is the dependent team, and it is architects' route that they should find it out. And this is not a business area that we will be able to guide. So very, very cognizant about it. The team completely looks at, team is a combination of product owners, Scrum Master, and the entire engineers. But the business always has some kind of pain points, which they don't point it out in the retrospects, but they do have consistent problem dealing with the team. With that said, there is a problems on IT say. What does IT says to the business? We do focus on gathering the purpose, rather focus on business ask, not elaborated epics or for any MVPs, right? The technology is looking for an elaborated epics, which gives the information that, hey, where the data would appear, what would be the sample data, where should I execute this information? But they don't get that all the details from the business, and technology is trying to drive the show to minimize the work, and that's a 2 and 4, and technology has the challenge there. We have a high reliable delivery by involving product owner within the meetings, right? So they try to say that, hey, delivery, what we call the product owner should be involved in the meeting so that they get a first news that, okay, this is what we are doing. That is a priority. That is an reprioritization. There is a bug raised. There is a market on demand. There is a release on this end of the sprint. We create transparency in the process by showing working software to the business often. So they say that, yes, even though we have a technical challenges, we do also show our end of the sprint or iteration, our demo or the review, so that they could see it. We increase throughout consistency and add architect to address the blueprint design guide to the team. So we are not just sitting idle with cross-functional team. We do have architect puts together an informations, and then we are able to guide. Unknown about data, unclear visions of the business initiatives are the problems. But overall ways to work is the collaboration. We should, as we work together, we are jointly accountable for the success of the project. Whatever the say can be, whatever the say business can, whatever the IT can say, as a delivery management team or as a Scrum Master, release train engineer, or people who are responsible to own and facilitate the meetings should resolve this kind of conflict, and the ways of working to deliver the technology project is both responsible, business and IT, with the collaboration of the delivery, which is a Scrum Master or an RTE. All right, summary of continuous refinement in a business initiatives, right? When there is a business initiative, which is like a portfolio level or high level address. So there are different stages that we can look at it. There are different phases that needs to happen. There are different events that needs to happen. There are different inputs that needs to come. There are so many activities that needs to be played. And the outcome of all that between events, input and activity, we should have a recorded output so that the entire business initiatives are get fleshed out to multiple epics or features, and then they would be able to get into the lower level. This is at the portfolio level. When the business initiatives are created, they need to define these stages. Like inspection stage, the business management team creates clear product vision and target customer needs. This is very important. That needs to be well written. That needs to be addressed during the meetings. So there should be 1 to 2 hours of meeting bi-weekly until this business initiatives are sketched out. And during that meetings, there are inputs like business values needs to be defined by the product manager, identify number of teams that is going to work around that business initiatives, prioritize the portfolio backlog, which is very key aspect, MVP goal, what are we going to achieve in a couple of weeks or a couple of iterations, what is my MVP, and is there a markup that we should work with any UI teams or any other teams, right? The activity that goes around this area are the review portfolio backlog. They need to review because there could be a number of business initiatives which needs to be prioritized, elaborate on business initiatives, technical tasking and technical planning needs to be done with the technical managers or the directors, considering high value design, high level value design needs to be considered, and define what is the MVP. So the MVP is the most important aspect, so that can be determined in a later stage whether this business initiative can be taken forward or just put on a hold or take it in a later stage. So outcome should be the business initiative goal needs to be defined, MVP needs to be defined, creating epics needs to be done, tentative delivery date needs to be done. So all this needs to be the more key aspect of it. And elaboration stage, right? During the business initiative, after the inspection stage, there should be an elaboration stage which elaborates the entire epic. There should be a RTE, someone who is responsible to work on that. And initially, the identifying the product and technical epics is the challenge, that RTE needs to collaborate with the respective product and technology managers to obtain those epics. Shared teams dependency needs to be identified, which can be mapped. The weightage of each epic needs to be determined. So the input should be the product epics, technology epics, and the dependency scope needs to be defined. All these activities with the technical feasibility needs to happen offline, and POC and MVP capacity needs to be determined with the n number of Scrum Masters, and early risk mapping needs to be find out during the elaboration stage. And high-level user stories and spikes can be created and shared with the respective team to get an idea for the architect to provide some kind of an estimate to the top management at the portfolio. The portfolio is looking for some kind of estimate so that they could reprioritize all their business initiatives. In this stage, they should be able to obtain that. So MVP, blueprint, markup, epic prioritization, T-shirt sizing, and dependency traceability needs to be determined. This can be hosted by any delivery, which is like RTE or a Scrum Master, and make this happen. And in this stage, it's very important that SOS, Scrum of Scrum calls happen, and all that collaboration are taken into account for the elaboration of the entire business initiative, and breaking them into epics and n number of epics, including enabler epics, which can be a technology ask, or in business epics, which is pretty much driving the market demand. So next stage would be more in progress. Any business initiatives are get into the Scrum teams or individual teams, and all the ceremonies which are well addressed needs to be taken into account. So during that stage, add details to the product backlog, having high-level priority stories ready to work. Acceptance criteria to deliver user story that meets definition of ready. Feedback from users and design needs to be taken into account. Data samples needs to be accounted. Endpoints and other aspects needs to be accounted. Discuss new stories for product backlog. They do review and do the acceptance criteria, estimates the story, determines. This is all during their iteration stage. This is all completely at the iteration stage where they do determine, okay, n number of velocities are happening. What is my team's velocity? What's my team capacity? What's the story pointing? What is this? Am I doing t-shirt sizing? Is there any dependency? All that happens. Once all the stories of the epics are done, then it goes to the release stage, and business initiatives are get into the release stage where they could plan and actively do their release pipeline. It can be through DevOps. It can be through any kind of a manual process. It depends upon the organizations. But the release stage gets into activation after the sprint goals are achieved, after the epics are achieved, and then business can move on to their entire business initiative into the market. Add details to the release pipeline. Release notes and release demo are the more key aspect in that event. Inputs are more plan and accept the estimates, and business stakeholders approval is needed, and additional wiki pages or some kind of notes needs to be documented. Any kind of tickets that needs to be produced for release and approval needs to be obtained, and handover documents needs to be defined. Code coverage and automations needs to be monitored and determined, and those KPIs are very important. And product checkout and product demos and release notes are taken into account. In this stage, during the business initiative, they need to continuously improve. Any aspects that we do in Agile and ways to work has to have a continuous improvement process. So inspect and adapt would be one of the area that will be determined if you get into any kind of safe coaching or safe training, either it's SA or SSM or a POPM. Even POPM, we go detail into a PI planning. In Scrum Master, we have a couple of PI planning sessions, and that's a well-certified course that we have. And SAFE recommend anyone who joins new to the SAFE framework to go through that exercise, understand what is PI, and in that PI, we do have an inspect and adapt, which gives an idea how the business initiatives are taken into account, how the value stream and development streams are able to deliver the value to the market, and what are the different challenges that they were able to record and continuously improve on the challenges. That's a simple way to say, start doing the things that are success, stop doing things that are not success, continue your process if you need to, and celebrate the success always. So this is something at the business initiative level. I'm going to move on to the next slide. When there is a business initiative level, there is also say that there is risk and dependency. So always there is a war between multiple teams and say, hey, I can't do this because this is dependent on XYZ, and I will not be able to work the way to work. The way Agile says, I need to put it like waterfalls. Hey, you do first, and then I will take it next. The project will get into mini waterfall structure, which we don't support in scaled Agile or in a safe Agile. So business ask is the top team sets the direction where the business is defining a clear vision, objective, and KPIs for any business initiatives and epics, develops a strong set of values around the business process and design, clear process of kickoff the team, and maintains the productivity and collaborative team environment. So this is what the team does at the top of and they do collaborate to obtain the process support value added works, fully transparency of performance and user satisfaction. By defining each team defines the scope of each team, including technical design and end-to-end process. Mark the calendar with the sprint timeline. These are very important for a business. Hey, I do need to know when are we guys collaborating? Which sprint, which team is working on it? Is there a risk factor that needs to be identified earlier so that the teams can map their user stories earlier and then collaborate each other? So this is something that business ask would be when it comes to risk and dependencies. And traceability is a very key aspect. Project-wide shared values are important. Strong shared commitment mapping to timeline to deliver all dependency work. If someone fails in their deliverable, it's going to impact entire train. When you come for any kind of an safe scaled agile training, you will understand how the mappings are done in the PI planning. How does the break off a session happen, and how does the multiple teams collaborate and work on it? So if you have not taken any safe training, I would highly recommend to join the safe training and obtain the course, so you will learn many things what I am highlighting here. Build up by small self. So what does the team together does when it comes to dependency and risk, right? Build up a small self-sufficient cells, right? You have to create small kind of stories, identify where does it fall, in which sprint it falls, organize around end-to-end ownership if the process with clear user expectations, easy changes and scaled process for an MPP first, right? So address the external and dependency commitment channels. These are very important. So some meetings needs to happen between all this is between product owner stakeholders to identify as a small chunk of works, and always try to make some kind of fluid reconciliation to keep ahead, right? Make the stories time boxed, right? Experience and prototype based on level of certainty and value of solutions. Multiple short time box needs to be done. Some spikes needs to be addressed during the session. Identify early risk and map them between multiple teams to collaborate. Scrum call is most important. There will be lot of information in Scrum when you join scaled agile sessions, and you will be able to learn more about it. Engage people directly, right? That you need to engage people in multiple ways. Engage the people in each sprint to validate the dependency and risk. Demo the complete work on each sprint to prove the result. Open and honest feedback in the transparency of delivery timeline. This will help most of the team to understand where we stand, how are we doing in our project deliverables. Moving on to the next slide, which gives you an idea about what should we do when it comes to a iteration. This is a key aspect for any facilitator, Scrum Master. And this, even though you might have touched base in most of your practical life, I do want to refresh this because I'm doing a flow of portfolio, epic, that is like a portfolio level, epics, business initiatives, epics, themes, features, all that. So this comes to a story level or an epic where the team is collaborating. There are n number of events that occurs between 2 weeks or 3 weeks, however you define your iterations, and there are activities that needs to go. For those activities, there needs to be some inputs, otherwise that the team meeting is going to be much silo and they will not be able to perform their sprint goal. So there are some outcomes that needs to be determined in each of these ceremonies, and this is very, very key activities that needs to be successful. So as a Scrum Masters facilitate all these meetings, but they are also responsible to produce the KPIs. And nowadays the Scrum Masters are also considered to be the coach. The world has changed. When I was doing my Scrum Master role in 2007, it was pretty much Scrum Master does multiple different works. And in 2014, it was only facilitating and driving the team. Now, today's world, the Scrum Master is also a coach for the team for the continuous improvement. I completely agree on it. So if you are a Scrum Master and you want to learn more about continuous improvement and how do I stick my values for my company, I would highly again recommend you to look at the SAFE framework. And if you are not aware, try to reach out to one of us. We will be able to help you into the right course. And sprint planning, daily stand-up, sprint reviews, sprint retrospect, backlog refinement, all are part of Scrum framework, which is again adapted by Scaled Agile also. They call it iteration instead of sprints. Those iterations are taken into high collaboration with Scrum of Scrum. You would have one iteration from one team. That's a second, there's a different iteration from a different team. There's a third iteration from a third team. And there is a release train that is running on it between multiple 7 to 10, 12 teams, and they are able to collaborate it. So in that session, I do want to touch point that how do you work, the ways of working in obtaining a good success of Agile way of working. Agility is the most important. The fast way of delivery is important. So sprint planning. So the sprint planning is a day when all the engineers get together, commit for the event, and they will be able to proceed for the sprint goal. So the development team commits to deliver and agree the scope of the features. They may take it as a small features, and they do want to deliver by end of the sprint, so then end of the iteration, so that this meeting goes between 1 to 2 hours or maybe longer depending upon the weightage of the team. In this meeting, the most input is team's capacity needs to be identified. Scrum Master needs to host that and identify the team's capacity and define and capture it, and also find the team's sprint velocity by the if it is already existing team, the team should be able to know what is their team velocity. Hold on a second, I have a call come. Yeah. The sprint velocity needs to be recorded, and accordingly, with the capacity of the teams, there could be 2 people going for a vacation. There could be some are not available to do the work. So with the capacity of the team, the velocity needs to be determined. The prioritized backlog is very important. Prioritized backlog is being recorded, and then that is done by the product owner before the planning day. So these inputs needs to be determined before the planning day. Sprint goal needs to be also recorded in this, and sprint backlog needs to be maintained. Any markup needs to be completed. So this all comes in the input of the sprint planning. Activities that goes around the sprint planning. Review the prioritized backlog. So when there is a itemized item on the top of your backlog, those backlog item needs to be prioritized by the product owners for the business stories. Any technical stories are also defined, and those technical prioritization needs to be done by their respective technical member. And those both between the product and technology depth or technology ask are prioritized, and those needs to move into N+1 or N+2 or N+3 sprint on the planning day. And the ultimate goal is to make sure that product prioritized backlog are taken into account for the planning. Elaborate on stories, right? So during planning, there could be some additional question which can be asked instead of refinement. It's everything been done, but still there will be open question where can be elaborated, and those stories can be done by elaborated and explained by the product owner. Develop a sprint goal. This is a what you call agreement between the product technology that this is the sprint goal, I'm going to have it, and will be able to determine what would be my sprint goal. And estimate the stories and break down into tasks based on the definition of done. And this is very important. The team should record their definition of done and have their best practice. If that best practice are not adapted during the sprint planning, you may take a story, or the team may take a story which is unclear. And during the iteration, during the phase of the iteration, they may start determining some of their challenges, because that is not earlierly written in the definition of done. There are constant definition of done items, and there are definition. I think this should be definition of ready, not definition of done. So definition of ready, and definition of ready needs to get into the most practical way of working during the planning. Consider high-level design. The consideration of high-level design is very, very important, because when you do a planning, if you don't have an idea what I'm going to deliver in next 2 or 3 phases, then this needs to be this will break down the iteration. So outcome of this should be sprint goal, sprint backlog, and sprint backlog / planned item for the team. It can be N+1, N+2, N+3 sprints. These are facilitated by the Scrum Masters and product owners, and team gets involved in the planning day, including the shared teams. Daily stand-up. Once the planning is done, there is a sprint goal to go on, and daily stand-up is very, very important. The daily stand-up gives a clear idea about teams' hurdles that they are looking forward. The team's hurdles at any given time could change the game plan of sprint iteration, or the iteration goal. So the risk needs to be discussed. Daily stand-up is not that, the story is, well, I'm able to do it, nothing, no problem. That's not the way to report in the daily stand-up. The daily stand-up, the stories are determined in a way that they will be able to share what is their challenges. If there is no challenge, if there is a challenge from his or her colleagues, they should be able to support. And they should also observe that these stories are not dependent on my stories. If it is, then it needs to be collaborated in daily stand-up. So this needs to be 15 minutes time boxed, and the input of the daily stand-ups are pretty much the user stories and bugs. That is the Scrum board. The Scrum Master takes the Scrum board and navigate through those stories and be able to determine what needs to be done, so that the ways of working and agile thinking is maintained in everyday activity. So what did I do yesterday? What I will do today? And is there any impediments? So that needs to be looked at it. So review the sprint burn down charts. Burn down is very, very key aspect in when it comes to Scrum framework. And if the team is not able to perform their burn down and the chart remains straight line until the end of the sprint, then there is a challenge there. So the Scrum Master is very key aspect to measure the KPI of the burn down, and more detail on the burn down is explained in any one of our course, even in Scaled Agile or in a Safe Agilist or a Scrum Master, what do you call it, some Safe Scrum Master or Safe POPM or Safe Advanced Scrum Master. There are multiple Safe courses where you will be able to learn more about burn down chart. So outcome of this should be updated Scrum board. So list of impediments to resolve and sign off stories if some stories are done. So that comes in the daily stand-up. When it comes to sprint review, demo the entire work that is completed by the engineers on a full stretch. And this is a 1 hour meeting that happens by end of the iterations. And in that, we should have a couple of inputs. Prepare for the review session. That's very important. Do not go blank. If Scrum Master is facilitating it, Scrum Master should be aware that what are the stories are going to be demoed today. Who are the right participant needs to be participating in this demo or in a review session. During this review session, it should be an active participation of the stakeholders, shared teams, as well as the current engineers, because the work could be shared in later stage and they need to understand what the work was done in N-4 sprint. So the demo needs to be executed well and nice so that it can be reviewed. So the sprint goal needs to be measured there. Any metrics that needs to be done during the sprint iteration needs to be measured. Update any release plan if it is getting changed, or if it is going in a good progress, update it. The release train is one of the concept RTE will be running. Sprint review will be the part of the execution of any development value streams. Designs and user feedbacks are also recorded during that sessions. The activity that goes through or showcase completed business and IT stories developed in a sprint, highlight designs for future sprints. If there is an UI or UX design that's done in the current sprint, they can demo or show that what is the wireframe that needs to be done. They will be able to achieve it. Create new stories, update on release progress. That's more on a release train. We need to update it. So the outcome of is the improvement of the team, new stories that can be created, incorporate any stakeholders' feedback also. So that comes as this sprint review. That is retrospect, which is a continuous improvement at the Scrum level, right? At the team level. Inspect and adapt is at the largest scale, which is a release train or at the operational value stream when there is my train created or multiple trains created. In a scaled agile, in a safe framework, we call it inspect and adapt. But when it comes to Scrum and Scrum or any other frameworks, they call it a sprint retrospect, which is nothing but a continuous improvement, which is a key aspect to obtain a continuous growth of a team. Also execute the project in a better way on every iteration. Grow the team to the better actions so that the impediments are resolved sooner. Learn curves and lesson learns are addressed during this retrospect time. So the inputs are more sprint metrics. If there are something that we miss, needs to be discussed. There's no pinpointing someone's that work, but we collaboratively work to improve the activities. Review the prioritized sprint action to continuous improvement. Discuss the result of the sprint. It can be a success that needs to be celebrated together. I would always have the positive mindset when we go into retrospect. Celebrate the success first before even we talk around the challenges that we went through. Celebrate, celebrate, celebrate. That's most important. And anything that needs to be start needs to be defined. Anything that needs to be stopped, that needs to be considered. Anything that can be continued, that needs to be addressed also. So action for improvement needs to be recorded by the facilitator, which is the Scrum Master, and they would also address any challenges that comes around iterations. The last ceremony that happens in the Scrum framework is backlog refinement. So the backlog refinement is very, very key aspect of planning before you jump on into sprint planning. Add details to product backlog. Having highest prioritized story ready to work. So these are very important. The product owner should look at the product backlog and say, hey, I'm ready to refine this story. I have my acceptance criteria. I have all my description. I have reached out to the respective architect to get more details so it can be loaded into the stories and the team should be able to digest it. So the information needs to be documented in any kind of tool that you are using, but those stories needs to be highly defined as their acceptance criteria. And this meeting can go 1 to 2 hours or 1 hour, recommended 1 hour per week. It's very highly recommended. So the input to this refinement session or up-to-date feedback from sprint demo. There could be some outcome from a sprint demo that needs to be recorded. Acceptance criteria to deliver user stories needs to be defined also. That the definition of ready needs to be taken into account. So always I'm mentioning a definition of ready because if you don't have a definition of ready listed for your team or any kind of operational, then we may miss the activity that needs to be discussed during refinement sessions. So feedback from users is also considered and recorded or added stories to other backlog, and that gets refined during the refinement sessions. Activities that goes around or discuss new stories for product backlogs and discuss any stories, even technical backlog, review stories and acceptance criteria with the team, estimates those stories, if possible. Most of the time, the stories may not be able to be estimated during refinement. They may need to have an additional discussion internally by the business, or sorry, by the technology team, to brainstorm what are the different designs, or what are the different endpoints, or what are the codes that needs to be done. So the estimates can be pushed to planning day also. But if a team has confidence that this story has all the information, I know what to do, then the estimates can also be done at the refinement stage. Activity, actively asking feedback questions by the developer. This is very, very key, because if a development team or a QA team doesn't ask any questions and be more silos, then the success of the project, it will be very bad. So I would say that in silo teams will always have a problem, because they will connect offline to ask questions within their colleagues, and that will create some chaos during the sprint goal. So ask right questions during the iteration refinement time, and that makes all the people, including the estimates and the sprint goals, to be success. And this is very important. And then when it comes to the outcome of any backlog refinement, update and prioritize the backlog, right? That's most important, right? So once the stories are well refined, the team understands the story, they have additional things that they may need to do around, and they may add additional questions that they want to share with the shared teams. They want to meet up with the different team members. Data needs to be done, and some services needs to be created, and those needs to be considered during the backlog refinement. And before the planning day or the next refinement, those stories needs to be sketched or cleared out before they come to the next refinement, and then they will be able to estimate it better or ask more questions. So if during the refinement, if you have any kind of technical challenges, then technical spikes are created, and the team goes for a day or two to refresh or clear out the ask, understand the technical challenges, and able to determine which story they could put it for next iterations. So this, sometimes we may need to create some prototypes as a design patterns that could also help the refinement better way. All right, there are different roles that are involved during these phases, during these ceremonies. We have product owners, sometimes we have tech leads or tech managers who are dominations in the sprint, but according to the scaled agile, there is no such role available. But in my practical working, I have seen there are tech leads and tech managers who comes across to dominate the team's estimations. So there's a collaboration. As I mentioned, there's a collaboration between a product and technology. So if there is a technology manager, I would consider him to be a tech person in the team, and he is respected to run the path very well. So this is very, very key role that technology may have it. And we have a scrum master, and we have a development team. So these are the more key roles that are part of ceremonies, and these ceremonies are taken considerably by, facilitated by Scrum Master, but everyone has certain ownership. So I'm going to quickly run through these items and then have a Q&A if you have some questions. So sprint planning, product owners co-facilitates the event, shares the goals and objective for the sprint, review the sprint user stories and acceptance criteria with the development team, right? So that the sprint goal can be obtained. Technology manager or product manager co-facilitate the event, supports the refinement sessions and acceptance criteria, and also looks at the bigger picture, because the product manager can look at the strategy roadmap. Each sprint goal is also aligned with the strategic roadmap, because the product or technology manager will look at the higher, or it can be a release train engineer. Scrum Master promotes the self-managing team and also creates a sprint goal and supports the business owner and the capacity of the team. and maintains the history of the velocity and define what they need to do during the sprint planning. So these are their individual responsibility. When they come for sprint planning, these members should have an idea, okay, this is my responsibility, I will take care of it. This is my, doesn't fall under Scrum Master. Scrum Master take care of all time understanding what is the refine. No, I think everyone has their responsibility. It's a collaboration work in an agile way of working and shared responsibility so that everyone can achieve the end goal. So a development team creates a sprint goal, reviews the prioritized backlog, assert stories and commit, accept stories and commit what they want to do it for the next iteration with their capacity and the history of their velocity. Consider a high-level design, perform tasks, create and perform their tasks, which is like a to-do list. Daily stand-up is pretty much product owner participate in it, and they do provides update on story preparation, testing, and project-related information, can provide clarity on sprint goal or backlog if there is a question from the team. Remove any impediments if the team is asking questions to product owner. So any product, or I would highly recommend not to have any kind of product or a technology manager in the what do you call in the daily stand-up. There are cases that you may find them. So I will recommend not to have them. So Scrum Master facilitate it and make sure that stand-up is in on time, ensures that its daily stand-up occurs and facilitate the event. Teach development team to stay 15 minutes time box, which is very key. Time box is very key, and ensure other than presence do not disturb the meetings, because if you have a technology manager or someone, they make deep dive into ask multiple questions, which should be a gate. I call it as a gatekeeper. Scrum Master also should not be should be a gatekeeper in addition to be a servant leader. So that's more key on a Scrum Master. Development team should be able to report their way of working the Scrum to, and this is nothing to report to the Scrum Master, but they do showcase themselves into their team that what their work has been done, and what if they have any impediments, they just meet up. If there is no impediments, the team members can go off. If there is an impediment after the stand-up, they can have a post stand-up and they should be able to discuss that. On a sprint demo or a review session, that should be kickoff event with overall sprint goal reviewed, what was done. So the planning day, we have the sprint goal. On the demo day, we should review what was our sprint goal that was asked by the product owner, and discuss project target and deliverable dates based on the progress of the date. At each iterations, you may able to complete set of works. The product owner should also showcase their project progress, or where does the entire epics lies right now, so that the team is aware and they will be able to execute it well, or take more stories, or adapt themselves to success for the final success of business initiatives or the epics. And technology or product managers empower and support the team to prepare this sprint demo. They don't interfere, but they empower the team and review the completion of the work against to the sprint goal. So Scrum Master facilitates the event, responsible for preparing the presentation of the event, ensures the sprint demos occurs, has the time box, educate the teams to be on purpose. What is the purpose of this event? Take actions to any impediments. Development teams pretty much demos the event, identify their need for future sprints. Sprint retrospect, as I mentioned, it's a continuous improvement. Product owner actively participate in inspect and adapt process to improve the implementation in the sprints. And technology managers actively participates in the inspect process to improve the sprint. I would recommend not to join. I mean, my recommendation for senior managers is not to join the retrospect. This could also lead the team members not to speak. And Scrum Master facilitators document it, identify which needs to be started, ended, and they do also have an items to be documented as action items, and Scrum Master is responsible to follow up on that. Development team actively participates in inspects and adapt where the problems are, discuss the success and celebrate the success, and collaborate to identify if there is a problem where they should be able to uh, continuously improve in coming sprints. So refinement sessions, again, refinement sessions co-facilitated the event by the product owner, defines the priority, aligns the vision of the roadmap, writes and reviews the user stories and acceptance criteria, and update the prioritized backlog in an alignment with the vision roadmap, this product vision roadmap. So this is very important for a product owner when it comes to refinement. They closely monitor, and they are the responsible people. It's not Scrum Master who looks at the vision. Even though Scrum Master has an idea what's the product vision, but also the ownership falls under the product owner. So similarly, the product and technology manager shares a similar kind of responsibility, but at a strategy level roadmap, at the portfolio level roadmap. When it comes to Scrum Master, make sure the collaborates with the product owner and product managers to have the acceptance criteria, well-refined stories to promote the collaboration of the team, and provides historical velocity matrix so that the team knows, or the product owners or product managers knows, that team cannot go beyond their capacity. Development team absorbs all the identified technology and business spikes, gains functional clarity from the business owners, discuss the impediments options, estimates the story, and try to prioritize in their technical dependencies. So if we can think on from a business initiatives, epics, and to the stories, I have drive very high level at the business initiative, but a little bit deep dive into the Scrum framework where the scaled agile iterations happen, which is the key of the Scrum of Scrum and the release train. Each team needs to execute the iteration in a safe framework. So agile is a methodology. It's nothing to do with the framework, but the safe scaled agile, which is a safe framework, helps us to define how do we collaborate with the entire process. So I'm going to stop here, and if you have any question, I'll be more happy to address it.
So obviously a ton of content. Thank you for presenting. Awesome overview. I'm recently new to the SAFe journey, so I just took the SAFe Agilist cert, so I did the training for that, and kind of working to establish some smaller, Scrum teams, starting with one thing at a time, and we had a daily stand up, kind of refining that. Next week, we actually have our first planning meeting with that team, so that should be exciting. I'm sort of in my role, kind of dual tasking some of the stuff, wearing like a product manage or product owner kind of position, helping refine the backlog, and then also helping the team facilitate the way that they work. So far, it's been, I would say, transformative. I'm looking forward to continuing that and seeing the possibilities there. I mean, I feel like it's really exciting to be part of Scrum and SAFe and all this stuff, and to work in tech. So
yeah, nice to hear about it. It always, I say that when we start doing agile transformation, baby steps, which you mentioned, you are starting with your baby steps, because agile way of working is nothing to do with the process. I always say process is created by human. It can be changed anytime. But methodology, what Agile mentions, are very 4 manifestos, easy way of working, and 12 principles, right? So that is pretty much the methodology. And process, whatever you define, take baby steps, right? You can adapt any framework, but when we adapt scaled Agile, which is a safe framework, at the team level, it's only Scrum. You will not be able to jump to a release train. I would say hold on that. And what you are doing is excellent job. Train the people by baby steps. Daily stand-up. What is the daily stand-up? What are we going to achieve in that? Why do we need the refinement? Why do we need the planning? If the refinements are well done, planning is shorter. If the refinements are not well done, the planning goes longer. So educate them in a way that they understand the purpose of each meeting. Otherwise, they will go mind-blowing saying that it's too many meetings in Agile. And I appreciate your voice here too. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've been adding and refining the agendas, right, to try to dial that in. Like, why are we meeting for this meeting?
Yeah.
And this needs to be the focus. You know, if we're
Yes.
working on a card or a task, it's like, it's this one thing. There may be additional cards or backlog items that get generated out of those conversations, but we got to try to complete the one task at hand.
Yes, yes,
So.
yes. Yeah, that's a way to look at it. That's the reason in my slides you might have seen input activities and outcome. I always define before the meeting, why are we meeting here? So that needs to be done. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Is there a way to stay in touch?
Yes, you can have linked. I have my LinkedIn. I can post it here. You can just connect me in LinkedIn. And I have a couple of videos that explain what is real-time Agile. During my fall season, I was like pretty much blown out with a lot of leaves. And I was thinking, what should I do? That's a very good video. Like 2 minutes. It's just 2 minutes, 30 seconds. How did I do my leaf collection during my fall season using my Agile mindset? So I use my Scrum framework there. Yeah, you can connect me in LinkedIn.
Perfect. Yeah. Send the link or profile info, and that'd be great.
I appreciate it. Any other questions anyone has it?
Looks like, is it just Benjamin's the only other attendee still on here? How's it going?
Okay. I didn't look at that. All right, so let me put it in the chat, my LinkedIn, and anytime contact me, we'll keep in touch. I love to talk to people who are Agile mindset and try to have, I say, coffee with Ali. So ping me and say, hey, can we have coffee with Ali? Then I would be more happy to spare 15, 30 minutes and we can discuss challenges that's happening around the world on Agile mindsets.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Vidya, is anything else we need to cover right here? Otherwise, we can end the call.
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for joining. Have a good weekend, everyone. Take care now.